Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Lee? Here.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Here.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Break this.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion to seal the minutes?
So moved.
Motion been made and seconded to seal the minutes. Any discussion on the motion to seal the minutes? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Lee? Yes. Councilman Stichels?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Meeting?
Motion made to adjourn. There's a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Lee?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes. We'll have to wait a minute while they get their cameras set up. I now call this meeting of the Cranston City Council to order. At this time, would anybody with a cell phone please turn it off? Will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilwoman Lee?
Here.
Councilman Stichels?
Here.
Councilman Box?
Here.
Councilman Director Martell?
Present.
Councilman Steele?
Present.
Councilman Reyes?
Present.
Councilman
Present. Present.
Present. Is there a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes of the last meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Lee?
Yes.
Councilman Stichels?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public acknowledgements and commendations. Are there any public acknowledgements or commendations? Hearing none. Public hearings. I would ask Colonel O'Donnell of the Rhode Island State Police to come to the podium. Colonel O'Donnell, are you here? All right. Anybody else would like to speak on any docketed item? Please come forward, give your name and address for the record.
Robin Koya, 4 Franconia Drive. Shall I make my comments now?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Council President and council members of the City Council. I was here in the beginning of the month in favor of pledging you to please support the establishment of a dog park here in the city of Cranston. I know the Public Works Committee was in favor of that, and now the ordinance is before you for full approval, and I'm hoping that I'll have your support again. I've been working with Councilwoman Lee on this project, along with Parks and Recreation Director Tony Liberatore. Since our last meeting, we've done a little research. I've actually reached out to Animal Control Officer Pat Maxwell, who is very much in favor of the establishment of the dog park, but she did have one request, and that was for us to not consider placing it next to the animal shelter. And after speaking to her in a little bit more depth, I understand her reasonings, mainly because her concern is, number one, it is a small area. Number two, with the proximity of that public park next to the animal shelter, she's concerned that with the animals that are in the shelter going out into the runs, you know, they'll see these other dogs running around, and it's just going to cause a lot of extra stress and trauma on these poor animals that are already in a traumatic situation. So she's really not comfortable with that. And secondly, I had offered the fact that the animal shelter pups could actually use the facility, but again, she brought up a good point that many of the pups that are at the shelter, we don't always know the history behind them, what type of disease they may have, parvo, things of that nature that could be very contagious. So for the betterment of the animals that are in the park that are vaccinated, it's best to keep them separate. Again, she offered her support, but just requested that we look at other locations. So with that said, we've been doing a little bit more research, and we're looking at possibly the Oak Hill facility, which is right next to Mulligan Island in Cranston. So, you know, that seems to be a good location. I've reached out to a colleague of mine who's a civil engineer who's been willing to do some pro bono work and look to see if he can design a park that could fit some of the parcels of land that are available in the city. So, you know, it's still a research progress, but with your support this evening, we're confident we're going to make this go through, and it will be something that the city can be proud of. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Anybody else would like to speak on any docketed item? I'd like to call Colonel O'Donnell from the State Police to come forward to the podium. Colonel O'Donnell, welcome to the Cranston City Council chambers. Are there any questions of the Colonel? Council Vice President Farina.
Thank you, President Lanning. Colonel, we recently had a meeting with the mayor where we discussed the audit that you're currently conducting. And I think as a council, we understand if there are any personnel matters, we don't have access to any of that kind of data. But I think we would like to know if we could get a written report of any operational issues you find in the police department that may come up, basically separate of any personnel matters, and that would be governed by the Officers' Bill of Rights. So as a council, we understand that your audit finds any issues that we as a council should maybe address or help the administration address.
So I can answer that. The assessment we're doing, that's an assessment. It's not a way to make sure that's clear. It's a big difference. We're going to assess what we're asked to do. That study or our assessment will be back to the mayor. And if the mayor releases that based on laws, then we work with the executive. The executive will get that, and we'll turn it over to him. That'll be his option, not ours.
Just as a follow-up, the reason we asked the question is because he alluded that it would be your option to give us a report and not his, so.
Any executive, governor who I work for, or now the state police are doing an assessment for the mayor, it's the mayor has executive privilege with us. That document is his document. We're the assessors.
Okay, thank you, Colonel.
You're welcome.
Councilman Botts.
Thank you, Council President. Colonel O'Donnell, thank you for coming tonight. I spoke to you on the phone a couple weeks ago, and I'm glad you were able to appear before the full council tonight. Would you be able to just give us an overview of what you see as the investigation is taking place at the Cranston Police Department? Can you give like a high-level overview of what's going on?
Well, this is what I can tell you. Several weeks ago, as you know, the mayor asked if the state police can do the internal investigation that Cranston Police had already completed. We're in the process of doing that. That's something I can't discuss, as you're aware of. As for the assessment, the same day, the mayor asked us if we'd put an acting police chief in. As you know, Captain Kevin Barry was assigned to that. He's already every day doing an assessment of what's happened operationally and what's happening within the agency. So those things we won't update on. When the report's done, that's our charge. That will be turned over to the mayor. And from there, that's up to you as a council and the mayor to discuss what happens there.
Yes, Councilman Botts.
And do you have any idea of a time frame as to when this might be completed?
Well, there's two separate missions. One's the internal, and the second is the assessment. The internal, my recollection would be it's several weeks off. Not many. The assessment, there's no time frame on that.
Okay. Any other members of the council have any questions? Councilman Stichels.
Yeah, I just have a request about the assessment. If when you're putting that together, if you could put that together in a way that it could be released without problems from the interfering with the law enforcement officer's Bill of Rights. So that I understand what you're saying, that it's the mayor's decision whether to release it. But I guess I'm asking you to give him a report that is releasable under the law, should he choose to release it.
I know what you're alluding to, so the two separate issues. The assessment will include some prior internal cases, and they, if they're litigated or not, they're protected through the Bill of Rights. That's an issue that's beyond your control or my control. That's a statutory provision. I can't tell you, I can promise you that. An assessment is what it is, and if it's part of it, you'll have to deal with that. If those are closed cases, I'm not sure if you can have access to them or not. That's really not something I can tell you. I don't have the authority to give that to you.
Councilman Arquette.
Thank you, Council President Lanning. I just want to thank Colonel O'Donnell for assisting us here in Cranston and the State Police about the ticket scandal, and I hope we can find some answers to the cause and the problem that took place November 14th and 15th. I'd also like to say that I'm sure the State Police will do a thorough and effective job, and I don't want this body to impede or hinder their investigation in any way. And any assistance the State Police needs from the City Council will be open to that. Thank you.
You know, I thank you, and I would like to just make a comment to follow up on what you just said. You have to understand, I don't have to tell you this, I think you know this, you have a sound police department. You have good men and women. For the last 2 weeks, this has been front page for them. And I think you have to understand a police mentality. They're on the street every day doing a dangerous job. In the last several days, they've had some serious violent offenses that they're working day and night. And I think they, as police officers, the men and women, need a break from that, let it go its course, let the assessment happen, and if it's a way of doing that, they get back to job. If you're a police officer, you want to be wired tight when you're going out to do your job to make sure you have that mission done.
Any other questions for the Colonel? Council Minority Leader Favecchio.
Thank you, Council President. Colonel O'Donnell, I also want to thank you for being here. I think we've had, some difficulty understanding the process, or at least I don't, but I think some of the council people have, that it takes time, even though it seems like a simple investigation, it does take some time, and I suggested at the last meeting, we just have to let you do your job, and when it's done, it'll be done. I don't think you can be held to any time frame. I would assume that you're not really happy with people giving you a time limit, because wherever the investigation takes you, I would assume that's where it goes.
That's correct.
And your organization is bound by the Law Officers Enforcement Bill of Rights, just as the city is, so that if there are personnel issues, you will have the same constraints that the city has and that the mayor has.
That's accurate.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman Stichels.
Yeah, I'd also like to thank the state police for coming into the Cranston Police Department, and I was very relieved and very pleased when that happened, and I have full confidence that you'll do a really good job. So thank you.
Thank you.
Council Vice President Farina.
I have a follow-up. I forgot to thank you for coming when I asked my first question. And you alluded to the great work that men and women of our police force have done over the last few weeks, catching a bank robber and doing a lot of good work on the street. So I'd like to thank the Cranston Police for doing the work that they've done. And we as a council appreciate all the work that they do every day.
Agreed. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for the Colonel? Colonel, I'm probably going to make a statement more than a question. The Policeman Bill of Rights is very frustrating for the average person to understand. And I made a comparison. It's like being in the Witness Protection Program. You really can't find out who, what, when, or where because no information is available. Saying that, and knowing we have to live with it, and I know the job that you and your department are doing, trying to put this together. I, like the rest of the council, invited you and your department to come into the city, take a good hard look, along with the mayor. We all feel confident that you'll do a great job, because you guys always do. I haven't heard anything bad about the Rhode Island State Police since I was able to vote. That was a long time ago. This investigation, you say, will be over within a couple of weeks?
The internal should be done within several weeks, yes.
All right, and at that time, you'll do a general assessment report, and that may take a while longer.
They're two separate. One is the internal investigation relating to why we're here. The assessment is going to take quite a period of time.
All right. So within 2 weeks, theoretically, the Cranston Police Department will have its colonel back? Or, and this investigation will be over? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying within several weeks, this investigation, the internal investigation, will be completed.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate everything you're doing.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public who would like to speak on any docketed item? All right.
Valerie Shuley, 27 Farm Street, and I see the need for a dog park. I'm not anti-dog. I have a dog. I just want to make it clear that I expect you to think through all the things like the dog doo-doo. I know there's a thing in here that says it's supposed to be cleaned up by the owner. Well, guess what? The sidewalks are supposed to be cleaned by the owners after a storm. They don't do it. I guarantee you not all of that is going to be done. So what are you going to do then? I don't expect my Parks and Recreation to have to go and clean that up. I have other better things for them to do and to pay them to do. So you need to think through these things as it's, because it just as sure as everything else is going to come up. It's going to happen, and people are people, and they're not going to clean up after their dogs. So before it's a problem, and before you're sending out my Parks and Recreation, which is not what I spend my tax dollars for, to send them out for that, I want you to figure out how you're going to take care of that issue. And I want to say that I support the Cranston Police Department, and that I saw at least one person on the news that said they were glad that the tickets were given out. I have no idea anything about it. But at the end of the day, the people were wrong. They deserved their tickets, and they should have paid their tickets. Now, I understand politics got involved. Everything was forgiven and all of that. But you know what? Silly me. I got a parking ticket. I paid my ticket. It was a full day's pay, but I paid it because you know why? I was wrong, and I knew I was wrong. And all those people parked on the street knew they were wrong. Just like in my neighborhood, we know when it's going to be time for the parking tickets to come out, and we take our cars, if we have them, off the street. So I, for one, support what the police did. I think they should have been doing it all along, and then this wouldn't be an issue. But seriously, I think they should all pay their tickets, or take the overnight parking law, just like when people don't shovel their sidewalks. They're supposed to pay a fine. Nobody enforces it. Never happened. You start enforcing that, guess what? You're going to get calls off the hook. Just like this. People are mad when they get a ticket, even though they know they were wrong and they deserve that ticket. So I just said there are some people in this city that do support the police department, do think they were right, and do think the people should have paid their tickets. You know, silly me, I think that whenever I see all the time people parked under a sign that says absolutely no parking here. You know why they dare do that? Because they know they're not going to get a ticket. Well, silly me, I think they should all get tickets. But that's just me. I believe in the law, whether I like the law or not, whether I like if I'm negligent of the law and get caught, and then I'm mad, but you know what? The only person I have to be mad at is myself. So that's that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. Paul Valletta, President of the Cranston Firefighters. Tonight before you, you have two ordinances that will ratify the decision from Judge Taft Carter finally fixing our pension system. As someone who's been dealing with it for 29 years, I really didn't think there was a solution to it. But we did something very, very important for the city. I think Moody's has already noticed it and sent notice to the city that they know the pension has finally been made solvent, and it's going to go towards their bond rating. I don't see a problem with it tonight. I think the council knows everything about it. I just want to thank the administration for having an open mind when we sat down with them and working together to fix this. I want to thank the active police officers and active firefighters who gave up benefits and received nothing in return for it. And I want to thank the majority of retired police officers and firefighters. I think we had a pretty strong case if we went forward with our case. I think the contract language was very strong. But we realized that that wouldn't have been good for anybody if we eventually won. It really we would have won the battle but lost the war. So it's what shows when you come together and everybody works together what we can accomplish here. But I want to really thank the retirees that stayed in with us and are part of this solution. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to speak on any docketed item? Hearing none, I close the public hearing section of this meeting. Resolutions. First resolution establishing an honor for the oldest citizen of Cranston, sponsored by Council President and Majority Leader Arquette. Councilman Arquette, would you like to speak on this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Yes, thank you, Council President. Recently, I was reading the paper, and I saw the city of Warwick has a ordinance on their books designated the oldest resident citizen of that city, and I think they give them a cane with a silver handle or something. So I was just saying, I think Cranston should have something to that same effect, and perhaps we could acknowledge our eldest citizen that resides in our city and give them keys to the city. So that's my opinion, and I hope the council agrees with me.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. In order to consider this resolution for passage this evening, we need a motion to suspend Rule 34B, which normally referred to a resolution to committee for a public hearing. Do I have a motion to
Please let me withdraw my motion to approve then.
Motion to,
You need to withdraw your second.
I'll withdraw my second.
Second.
Motion been made to suspend the rules, and there's a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, please take the roll.
Yes?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion to approve the resolution.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none. Clerk, please take the roll.
Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Report of committees, Public Works Committee, Chairman Aceto.
Thank you, Mr. President. This matter came before the Public Works at the scheduled January removal with a positive approval from the committee.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, please take the roll.
Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Finance Committee, Council Chairman Stikos.
Okay, we have several ordinances. The first has to do with amendments to the tax incentive reform for the industrial 5-year tax break, and that was approved in committee. It's similar to the changes that we made for the 5-year commercial program.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion on the motion? Mr. DeBoni, would you like to comment before we vote?
Lawrence DeBoni, Director of Economic Development. Councilman, I just found a typo in reading over the document in paragraph J. It should say 5-year tax incentive. It says actually 10-year tax incentive in 2 places. So I don't want you to pass this with that language in the ordinance.
Okay.
I'll withdraw the motion.
Is that a
Council
Scrivener's
President,
error,
if you
Mr. President?
If you,
Yes, our attorney says it's a Scrivener's error.
then I won't, then I withdraw my withdrawal.
So we can just make, we can just change that. Maria?
Oh, I see, it's not in the amendments.
All right. We need a motion to amend that particular paragraph.
Motion to amend.
Second.
Motion been made to amend the second. Under any discussion? Hearing none. Will the city clerk please read the amendment?
The amendment, it's a Scrivener's error in paragraph J, which currently refers to the 10-year tax incentive. We'll be changing that to the 5-year tax incentive, which is what the ordinance is addressed to. Did you want me to read the entire paragraph?
No, that's enough, I believe. Councilman Stichels?
Yeah, just for the public, there's a 5-year tax incentive program, and there's a 10-year tax incentive program. The amendments are being made to the 5-year program.
Okay, the amendment's been made. Was there a motion to approve the amendment?
Yes.
And there was a second. So clerk, please take the roll on the amendment.
Councilwoman Lee?
Yes.
Council Stichels?
Yes.
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 Yes. Now we need a motion to approve the amended ordinance.
Motion to approve the ordinance as amended?
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Lee?
Yes.
Council Stichels?
Yes.
Council Box?
No.
Yes.
Councilman Seal?
Yes.
Council Severino?
Yes.
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 The next item is an ordinance ratifying a memorandum connected to the Teamsters Union agreement involving Workforce Solutions.
Motion to approve?
Second.
No, I haven't. Motion made and second. Any discussion? Before we vote, I'll have to recuse myself from this, so I will not be voting on this matter. Council Vice President Farina, would you like to take the vote?
Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Lee?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Thank you for your assistance.
Anytime, Council President.
Councilman Stichels, continue.
There's another, a second memorandum involving the upgrading of a clerk's position in the Teamsters local.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion been made and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Next is the ordinance that Paul Valletta referred to, ratifying the judgment and consent agreement between the City of Cranston and the retirees to do with the pension. And I would like to, we need a motion to approve that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion been made in second. Any discussion? Councilman Stichels.
I would like to thank the retirees who are participating in this agreement and their representatives, Mr. Valletta and the other representatives. I think this is a very awkward and painful decision, but as Mr. Valletta said, it really is necessary to maintain the health of the pension fund and I think ultimately the city. So hopefully the other projections that have been made will be accurate and will be on the road to recovery for the pension fund.
Council Minority Leader Favecchio.
Thank you, Council President. I wanted to thank both the mayor, the administration, and the union, and Mr. Valletta. I thought this was a very difficult ordinance and deal to accomplish. When it was first mentioned, I didn't think it was even possible. But through the work that they did, this was done without great expense to the taxpayers as well in terms of costly litigation and lengthy negotiations. It took a while, but it was at minimal cost, and it really has gone through while the state is still having a dispute over the pension reform that's pending before the Superior Court. So I think that the fact that this was done in a very efficient manner speaks to the negotiating skills of both sides, and I think they did a great job, and I'm very glad that it passed, and I think we can put this behind us.
Councilman Botts.
Thank you, Council President. I would also like to thank, excuse me, the mayor, the firefighters union and the police union and all the retirees as well. Again, to reflect what Councilman Stichels says, it was a very tough situation. No one enjoys pulling benefits away from someone that they thought they were going to receive working all those years. But this does save, I think it was $6 million in a potential ARC payment going forward, which frees up a considerable amount of money for the city to be able to use for other services. And projected over 30 years, we should have a fully funded pension plan going forward. So other cities and towns cannot say the same thing, and I think this puts Cranston in a very enviable position compared to other cities and towns in the state. So again, thank you, and I think everyone appreciates what they've done stepping up, and especially the taxpayers, because at no expense to them, we have a viable pension plan once again. So thank you again.
Council Vice President Farina.
Thank you, Council President. I, too, want to thank the firefighters and police, both active and retired. The mayor did negotiate the deal, but I'm going to say my thanks for the guys who gave up the most, the policemen and the firefighters. So I really appreciate you guys coming to the table for the taxpayers. You didn't have to, and you did. And we as a city, and I as a taxpayer, really appreciate it. So thank you.
Okay. Any other announcement? I'd like to make a quick comment, if you don't mind. When the mayor first announced this, I stood with him at the podium. He explained to us, and the rest of this council knows, we stabilized the pension payments to $22 million a year. That would have escalated if we did not do this to a point where it basically would have bankrupted the pension. So I give all the credit to the mayor and the police union, the fire union, and the retirees. Together, we've accomplished something that very few cities in Rhode Island have been able to accomplish. It's called compromise. And compromise doesn't make everybody happy, but it gives to us a consensus that we can live with. They did a great job, and they deserve all the credit in the world. Thank you. Is there a motion?
I believe there was a motion.
There was a motion? Okay,
And a
clerk,
second.
take the roll.
Councilwoman Lee? Yes. Councilman
Yes.
Councilman Botts?
Yes.
Secretary Marquardt?
Yes.
Councilman Esposito?
Yes.
Councilman Maria?
Yes.
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 Okay, next is a resolution requesting the state police to commence an investigation on the Cranston ticketing scandal. That was amended in committee and approved.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Motion been made to approve, and there's a second. Any discussion on the motion? Council Majority Leader Arquette.
Thank you, Council President. As you're well aware, when this resolution was drafted, it was drafted with the intent of asking the state police to come to Cranston to investigate the ticket scandal. In committee, Finance Committee, the Finance Chair, my colleague, Councilman Stichels, did have a verbal amendment to it. So, this is the first time that I've seen it in writing, but I'm looking at lines 64 to 68 there, where it says, "Be it further resolved, the Cranston City Council welcomes recommendation from the Rhode Island State Police on the changes to city charter, ordinances, police department regulations, and the police union contract that would improve the operation of the Cranston Police Department." I think extremely broadens the intent of the original resolution that I co-sponsored. So I would like to submit an amendment to delete lines 64 through 67.
Second.
Motion's been made by Council Majority Arquette to delete line 64 to the paragraph anyways, seconded by Councilman Aceto. Any discussion? Council Minority Leader Favecchio.
Thank you, Council President. Well, I think that that's a very good amendment because that was something that I think did not belong there at all. It's not within the state police power to even look at our contracts. That's not their job. But when if you take that out, there's nothing left. Everything else has already been done. The state police have already not only come in, they've done their investigation, they're almost done. We've thanked them here tonight. So why are we even keeping this on the docket? I don't see any reason to have it on the docket. Makes no sense to me.
Any other discussion? Council Vice President Farina.
In committee, I originally voted to pass this because I really wanted, like Councilman Santa Maria said, what the hell is going on? I think we've had an executive session with the chief executive. We've thanked the state police. We've received comments from both parties on what's going on. I don't know if there's an effective need for this anymore. I mean, if it's the will of the council to pass it, we can pass it, but to Councilor Vecchio's point, I don't know what it solves.
Councilor Santa Maria.
Thank you, Council
Doesn't solve
President. Also, 69 through 72 asked the mayor to testify at a city council meeting. Well, he didn't really testify at a city council meeting, but he met with us in executive session. So is that going to stay in to ask at a future city council meeting?
Point of order, a ruling on the amendment to the resolution first, then Councilman Santa Maria, or I'll gladly entertain that. I agree with you.
Okay.
Councilman Aceto is correct. Council Majority Leader Arquette.
Thank you, Council President. To answer my colleague, Councilman Favecchio's statement, why is this on the docket? I think it's important for the people of Cranston to see that the council and the mayor is on the same page. This resolution was introduced prior to the fact the mayor asked the state police to come to Cranston to investigate this ticket scandal. So I think this would support the mayor's decision if we pass this resolution, and the mayor and the council will be on the same page.
Councilman Botts.
Thank you, Council President. Truth be told, this resolution wasn't originally introduced because I supported the original resolution that called for the state police to come in.
The intent, Councilman Botts, the intent.
I understand. But in committee, this resolution was essentially gutted and amend it to the point where it doesn't reflect the original resolution. So, to Councilman Favicchio's point, everything has occurred that you've asked for. I know there's a finer point that Councilman Santa Maria is going to bring up, but State Police is here investigating. We've heard from the mayor in executive session. Again, I would reflect what Councilman Favicchio said, in that, you know, this resolution really is pointless now that we've had this occur. So, again, you know, the original resolution before the State Police were called in, I fully support it. I think they should be here, and I'm glad that they're here. But again, I just don't see the need for this anymore.
Councilman Stichels.
Yeah, if I could address a question to Councilman Arquette, why are you proposing to remove this when the
When I co-sponsored the resolution, this wasn't part of it, as you're well aware. It was the intent of the resolution for ask the state police
Right.
to come to Cranston to investigate the ticket scandal. This is asking them to submit changes to our city charter, propose changes to collective bargaining agreements, union contracts, which expands the capacity of that investigation, and that's my concern.
Any other questions concerning the proposed amendment? Hearing none,
We're on the amendment, Mr. President, correct?
we're on the amendment. Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Lee? Yes. Council Stichels?
No.
Council Fox?
No.
Council Arquette?
Yes on the amendment?
Yes.
Council Severino?
Yes.
Council Minority Vecchio?
Yes.
Council Sabrina?
Yes.
Council Lee?
No. The amendment passes.
No on the resolution.
The resolution passes, I'm sorry.
No,
Now we vote on the
amendment
resolution.
passes.
We're on the resolution.
Right. Now we're going to vote on the resolution. Is there a motion to accept the resolution as amended?
So moved?
Is there a second?
second?
Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Lee? Yes. Council Stichels?
Yes.
Council Fox?
No.
Council Arquette?
Yes.
Council Seal?
Yes.
Council Severino?
Yes.
Council Minority Vecchio?
No.
Council Sabrina?
Yes.
Council Lee?
No. Resolution passes as amended.
Okay, the next four items are the monthly abatements and tax waivers. The first is real estate and tangible tax abatements as recommended by the city assessor.
Is there a motion?
I'm not happy with that.
Motion approved.
Is there a
Second.
second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion, on the resolution? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Lee? Yes. Council Stichels?
Yes.
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 Next is motor vehicle tax abatements as recommended by the tax assessor.
Second.
Motion made in second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Lee? Yes. Council Stichels?
Yes.
Council Fox?
Yes.
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 Next is tax interest waiver approvals recommended by the city treasurer.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made in second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Yes.
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 And the last one is the interest waiver denials recommended by the city treasurer.
Motion to approve the denials. Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Clerk, please take the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Moving on to Safety Service and License Committee, Chairman Santa Maria.
Thank you, Council President. Class BV liquor license, new above the cap, requires full council vote. This is a new license, replaces the old Grill on Comstock, who went out of business, so this is basically considered a new and not a transfer. Committee has voted in the affirmative. I recommend approval.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Clerk, please take the roll.
Yes.
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 Council President?
Yes, Council.
May I call Mr. Walrond up to the podium?
Yes, please.
I just wanted to welcome you to the city of Cranston. I've heard a lot of good things about Fresco One, East Greenwich, right? So I welcome you to the city of Cranston and hope you do a booming business.
Good luck.
Good luck, yeah.
Okay, we're going to move on to the Claims Committee. That's for informational purposes only. Am I correct,
Yes,
Chairwoman?
you are, yeah. They're
Thank you.
just reporting what went on in closed session. The report of claims are that Stephen and Francine Berenbaum received $1,800 for property damage, and Roberto Ramirez received $1,900 for vehicle damage. And then Amica Insurance, I guess as a representative for Thomas Flynn, received $5,381.74 for vehicle damage. That was, I don't know, a big one. And then Thomas Flynn received another $809 for vehicle damage. And Brian Valcourt received $154.51 for vehicle damage.
Okay, thank you. Public hearings. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak on any undocketed item? Nobody's got anything to say? I know it says Boy Scouts back there. What troop are you guys with? Okay.
I was a member of Troop 6.
Welcome to the City Council chambers, and thank you for putting up with us this evening. Anybody else in the public have anything to say? If not, I declare this part of the public hearing closed. Election of city officers. We received a resignation of John Baxter from the Historical Cemeteries Commission. Also from Roy Damiano, also resigned as a city council auditor. We have received several resumes from interested applicants. These applicants will be at the February 24th council meeting, at which time the council may interview and question the applicants, and an appointment may be made that evening. Any other interested applicants should submit a letter of interest with their resume to the city clerk. This is as far as the city auditor. Also in the historical, and I mentioned that John W. Baxter resigned from the Historical Cemeteries Commission.
Mr. Council President?
I'm sorry, I can make a correction. It's not city auditor, it's council auditor. Yes, Councilman Aceto.
On the auditors, will we be able to get the resumes ahead of time?
Yes, the city clerk has all the resumes, as far as I know. Am I correct?
Yes, I have the three. I will forward those out to you tomorrow.
Okay. Next on the agenda is report of city officers. December 2013 sewer connection report. Is there any discussion? Do we take account of this? Anybody from the administration have anything to say on the sewer report?
You should have a report in your packet. I think there was only one entry for December.
Oh, there's only one application that's in the packet you were given this evening.
I don't see anything.
Okay, moving on. Executive communications?
Mr. Council
Yes.
President, I'm sorry, back to that matter, to our attorney. Is there a new process in place there? Does the council at all have to vote on the new connection? According to the ordinance that we passed a few months back?
That's the sewer connection. So,
I don't know which attorney you were referring to, because you actually have two. But as one attorney, I would recommend that, according to the ordinance, any out-of-city connections would have to be put before the council. Any in-city connections or routine connections are just for notification purposes. For example, the link on the, if you have your iPad, this is a Cranston resident, and was connected to the gravity line, which is a normal line, not any high-pressure line or anything like that. So this would just be a normal connection.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Quillen, you agree with Mr. Kirschenbaum?
Yes, I do. It's within the city.
Okay, we'll take a vote on this. It's very unusual two attorneys agree. Clerk, please take the roll. Oh, we'll take a motion to approve first. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve? We don't need it? Okay.
Pursuant to the ordinance, it was just for informational purposes. If there are any questions generated out of it, I can certainly look into them. But this is a routine type of, if this property owner were in Johnston, let's say, the procedure set forth by Chairman Aceto would have this before the council prior to any connection. That the ordinance remedied the problem of people connecting and asking permission later. So,
I think we finally understand it. If it's someone outside of Cranston, we'd have to vote on it. If it's a Cranston resident, we don't vote on it. It automatically passes. All right. Under Executive Communications, Mr. Cordy.
Thank you, Council President. Cranston Police Officer Jeffrey Duclos is requested to be placed on pension. Officer Duclos has met all the necessary requirements, and as a note for the record to the clerk, he's requesting a March 16th retirement date. We urge you to approve this.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Excuse me. Cranston Police Detective Craig Piranunzi has requested to be placed on pension. Detective Piranunzi has met all the necessary requirement, and a note to the clerk, he's requesting an April 4th retirement date. We urge you to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? Councilman Stichels.
These are both regular pensions, not disability pensions?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Yes. Claims settled by the solicitor?
we have one claim that was settled. That's a claim of Edith Senzi. The case was settled for the sum of $10,000. That was a personal injury action for I believe she was in her 90s, against the city of Cranston, which was coming up for trial shortly. This was a matter that was in litigation for quite some time. So we view that as a favorable settlement for the city.
Okay. Thank you. Council President Communications. Sunday, I read the paper concerning the ticket gate thing in Cranston. What bothered me was when the Mr. Rodeo, who represented the police union, stated that police officers were selective in giving out tickets as far as parking tickets because they felt that $50 was too much money to charge somebody for overnight parking. And I read that and I said, well, number one, it bothered me that they, the police officers on duty, would arbitrarily not ticket because they felt it was too much money. Therefore, they weren't enforcing ordinances passed by the city council. Another thing that bothered me, I said, well, if this is the case with this, I wonder what other ordinances they are selectively enforcing. People going through stop signs, parking in handicap areas. There's a myriad of ordinances in this city that we have in effect, and they should all be enforced equally. You don't pick and choose. If there's a problem with an ordinance, and the Cranston Police Department has a problem with that ordinance, they should come back to this city council, explain it to the council members, and I'm sure we would work to adjust a problem if there was a problem. But for the police officer to take it upon themselves to selectively pick and choose what they're going to do is in violation of the city charter, it's in violation of their rules and regulations. I hope that this sends a clear message to whoever is involved with this to get their act together. We don't pass ordinances in this city just to pass ordinances. They have to be enforced. Thank you. On the council member communications, Council Vice President Farina.
Thank you, Council President. To continue on your vein before I get to my question I have on council member communications, I am hopeful that the mayor will share the results of the evaluation that the state police give him so we can see if there are issues like this that we can solve together. My question was one on snow budget to the administration. Director Strom, we've had a couple snowstorms over the last few weeks. Want to know how we're doing on the snow budget, and I know you're not, a forecaster or a farmer's almanac guy, but how are we doing?
Based on an estimate that was given to me today by our Public Works Department, specifically a Highway Department, right now, based on a budget of $635,000, we currently have about $60,000 left. So the budget is pretty well blown. Okay? Now, I'm just throwing this out to the council just so you are aware. We do have a snow and ice fund of about $270,000. We don't usually try to use that, but only in an emergency situation. But there is some money available there. But right now, most of the operating budget is consumed.
So we have a contingency plan if we get a blizzard, but let's hope for no more snow.
Right. And then the other thing is that, we would, well, obviously, we got to plow the streets, sand them. So we would still take care of and perform the services.
Of course, we would
and
just
we
have
would
to find a way
find
to pay
money
for it.
from other line items. So I'm not too concerned at this point unless we continually have large snowstorms every week. Okay.
Thank you, Director.
Councilman Cito.
Yes, can I follow up on that, Mr. Strong, please, if I may? You gave us a dollar amount, but is there one area that's really overspent? Is it the overtime that's killing us? Is it the private vendors? Is it a combination of things, or is there a breakdown?
The one that's overspent currently is the subcontractors.
And why would that be?
Basically to get the, some of the storms that we had were, at least two of them were considerably large in nature. We just don't have the manpower or the equipment to take care of it on a timely basis. So they do have to go out to other sources. Now, I don't set who they go to, obviously, but they do try to get these subcontractors in as quickly as possible. And we want to make sure that we have a relationship with them so that if we did have a blizzard like we had a year or so ago, you know, they're not going to refuse to come in because Cranston hasn't provided them services for other storms. So we need to have that working relationship with them.
Council Majority Leader Arquette.
Thank you, President Lee. Mr. Strom, what was the cost of the last storm?
The last storm was, let's see, about $180,000.
180?
$180,000. That's
So your-
materials, overtime, and subcontractors.
So your average storm can run anywhere from 150 to 200,000. So what you have now, the 60,000 won't cover the next storm.
Not
Therefore,
one
you're
to
going to
that.
have to go to the snow and ice budget, I would assume?
No, as I stated, we could run, so to speak, over budget and transfer from positive line items to offset that overage.
Okay.
Or if we couldn't do it because it's so sizable, that we would have to consider that reserve account.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Aceto.
Director Strom, so if we take the reserve account, what we have, it's approximately 330,000, 300,000.
It's about
270.
350, 3 1/4, 330, yes.
And what happens if we have a third or a fourth storm? And what are we going to do for that? We don't have any contingency for that, correct?
Not at this point, no.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Lee.
I was just wondering, this is, I don't know whether this, Mr. Strom, whether you have the answers for this, but if they are issuing tickets for not shoveling or citations, whatever they call different businesses, that was something that was brought up. Okay.
Per Councilman Aceto, at the last committee meeting, he asked me to check into any fines that have been done for shoveling sidewalks. There have been no fines, but there's been several compliance checks. So the police department is checking them out, and they're having people shovel. So there was no need for any fines. What they would do is they would stop at the house, tell the people, the resident, that sidewalk need to be shoveled. And the ordinance says it's 24 hours. So it was completed within 24 hours. And I got this report today.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman Santa Maria.
Thank you. I'd like to ask a question of the administration. There's a lot of yard waste still out on the streets. Now, I know December 15th is the cutoff date, but there's nothing on the website, and there's nothing to tell these people to not put out their yard waste. So it's basically been sitting there. My neighbor's been out there for 4 weeks now. Would it be a good idea to see if Waste Management could pick them up? And I mean, some of them are going to sit there till spring if they keep driving by them. So it's an issue throughout the city. I've driven around the city and I've seen yard waste outside. So they obviously are not going to bring it back in. I don't think they should have to. Maybe we should just grab it and get it off the side of the roads. So I don't know what the administration thought about that.
Normally, the yard waste program runs from the first Monday in April to the second to the last Friday in December. The administration and Public Works extended it 2 weeks this year. We were able to do that and not get an additional charge. I think if Public Works went to Waste Management, they would give us, they would impose a fee. Also, the yard waste has to be picked up by a separate vehicle. It can't be picked up by trash or recycled, because when it gets dumped into the landfill, it goes to a separate place, so they have to bring out separate trucks for that. Christmas trees were the same way. It was 2 weeks for the Christmas trees.
I'm glad you said that because I saw a few Christmas trees too.
They extended that because of the holiday last week on Monday, and then the storm on Wednesday. Waste Management didn't work. Christmas tree pickup was from last Monday, 2 weeks ago Monday to last Friday. But because Waste Management is behind 2 days, they've also extended that. So I think today and tomorrow will be the last day for trees. That's posted on the website.
So the answer to that is the yard waste is going to sit out on the curbs till springtime?
People that I talk to during the day, I mean, the landfill will accept it, so they would have to try to get their own means to get it up there. We don't have the resources to do it at this point. So yes, to answer your question, Councilman, yeah, they would have to put it back.
They've charged us a fee in the past, because in the past, they picked it up. So they've charged us a fee all this time?
That's an extra fee. The April to December is part of the yearly contract. Anything over that is an additional fee. But the administration this year was able to negotiate it to extend it for 2 weeks and not be charged that additional fee.
Judging by the number of yard waste out there, though, I don't think people know what you're telling me. Maybe it might be a good idea to put it on the website?
Well, it is on the website.
It's on the website?
But by now, if you look further down, it may be, because every time somebody adds something to the website, it goes to the top, and whatever's on there moves to the bottom. But it was posted on the website, and we've never had that issue in the past with yard waste. I think what's happening now is with the late fall, and that's why we extended it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No. Councilman Minority Leader Favecchio?
Thank you, Council President. Through the chair to Mr. Strom, I just had one follow-up on Councilman Acito's questions. I think it was in 2011. We had a fairly severe winter, and we had an overrun of the budget, on the snow budget, and you were able to find money from another area, if I recall. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And it was a fairly large, I mean, we were
It was
able to...
about $500,000.
That's correct. I remember that distinctly. So that usually you keep that in mind in terms of as the winter progresses.
Right, and the only reason why we like to keep that reserve money aside, only if it was totally unnecessary, totally if it was necessary to use, but we usually have the ability to balance out the account, and even if we run over budget. But it's nice to have that reserve just in case if we can't, because as you know, every year our budgets are getting tighter and tighter.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none? Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Stichels.
No, I'm next on the list, is that?
Next on the list is Councilman Stichels, concerning the Capianato Corporation's failure to plant trees.
Giving you a letter that was sent to the Peter Lapola over a year ago, and I just want to explain, the purpose of this is just to explain to the council about this and the status of it. During the last council, the Capianato Corporation came to the council and they wanted to remove part of the median that is on Saconaset Crossroads to facilitate a left-hand turn into Chapel View, the back of Chapel View, a left-hand turn as you're heading west or up the hill on Saconaset. And that involved removing a median and the trees that were in the median, and the council approved that request. And after the meeting, I approached Kelly Coates, who is the senior vice president for Capianato, and I asked if it would be possible to take the trees from the median and plant them in city parks where we'd lost several trees due to hurricanes. And he said to me that he didn't want to transplant the trees because he thought they might die, and he didn't want people saying that the Capianato Corporation gave the city junky trees, but that they would install new trees, which was wonderful and very gracious of him. We then had a meeting, Director Liberatore, me, Councilman Arquette, and Mr. Coates to place 2 trees at Cooney Field and the other 2 trees at Khaleesi Field. We went over the locations. That was all set. The Carpianato Corporation then came back to us a second time and made a presentation about leasing space next to the police station on Saconaset Crossroads. And as part of that presentation, they had a lease agreement that was explained for the parking lot, and they also said as part of that, we will plant 5 trees, additional trees in city parks. So again, that was a very gracious offer by them. And working with the planning director, we requested 2 trees be planted at Hall Manor on Warwick Avenue and 2 trees be planted at a city park in at the corner of Westwood and Edgewood streets. Both areas needing some trees because they'd lost them. And finally, to add the 9th tree to a spot on Farmington Avenue. That Carpianato Corporation was notified of that and of the sites. Unfortunately, they haven't planted the trees, and that's the reason that I have brought this up. I have contacted, I've talked to Kelly Coates, I've talked to Carpianato's attorney, John Bolton, and the trees have not been planted. And I just don't want this to kind of die because of time goes by, and I don't really know what to do because the people that I talked to, both Mr. Bolton and Kelly Coates, say, oh, yes, we're going to plant the trees. We're going to plant them next Friday. And then nothing happens. And of course, I go tell people that the trees are going to be planted and basically look like a jerk because they never get planted. So I just wanted the council to know that this was out there, that there was a letter. It's not an, it's a agreement, and hopefully this will happen in the future, in the spring, and it'll all get resolved. But if they don't get planted, then you may be hearing about it again. So, thank you.
Council Vice President Farina.
Yes, through the chair to Councilman Stichels. Kelly Coates did reach out to myself and Council President Landy today separately and did give his apologies that the trees did not get planted. And he said at first thaw, all 9 trees will be planted, and I asked him to send you an email so you have the information and his apologies that the trees didn't get planted. So hopefully we don't have to talk about this again, as it will be resolved.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other council member communications? All right, hearing none, close that section. Old business, is there any other old business?
I have none.
No? Introduction of new business. Would the city clerk please read the new businesses?
Proposed ordinance 1-14-01, an amendment of Title 8, Chapter 12, Sections 09, 110, and 121 of the Code of the City of Cranston entitled Health and Safety, Garbage Collection and Disposal, to be referred to Public Works Committee for hearing on February 3rd. Proposed ordinance 1-14-02, an amendment of Title 5, Chapter 68 of the Code of the City of Cranston entitled Tobacco Dealers, Regulation of Cigar Sales, to be referred to Safety Services for a hearing on February 3rd. Proposed ordinance 1-14-03, an amendment of Title 5, Chapter 68 of the Code of the City of Cranston entitled Tobacco Dealers, Tobacco Prohibition on Sale of Blunt Wraps, to be referred to Safety Services for a hearing on February 3rd. Proposed ordinance 1-14-04, an amendment of Title 10, Chapter 32 and Chapter 24 of the Code of the City of Cranston, titled Motor Vehicles and Traffic for Jordan Avenue and Flint Avenue, to be referred to the Ordinance Committee for a hearing on February 13th. Resolution proposing amendment to Section 3.19 of the Cranston Home Rule Charter and directing the Secretary of State to place on the ballot the following referendum question regarding non-interference in administrative matters, to be referred to the Ordinance Committee for a hearing on February 13th. The following claims have been received to be referred to the Claims Committee for hearing on February 3rd. A personal injury claim from Mandy Milner from an alleged incident on January 3rd, 2001. I'm not sure if that's a typo. I need to check that. A property damage claim from Thomas Faliglia from an alleged incident on November 27th, 2013. Property damage claim from Lawrence DeBoni from an alleged incident on December 15th, 2013. Property damage claim from Corey Capriccio from an alleged incident on December 14th, 2013. Property damage claim from Rafael Rodriguez from an alleged incident on December 13th, 2013. Property damage claim from George Schnapp, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly, SCHPAC III from an alleged incident on December 17th, 2013. Property damage claim from Joseph Cherokee from alleged incident on December 28th, 2013, and a property damage claim from James Gaffone from alleged incident on January 9th, 2014.
Is that all the new business?
That's all the new business.
Is there a motion?
Motion to assign to proper committees for hearing.
Motion been made. Second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Lee? Yes. Councilman Stichels? Yes. Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Rashad?
Yes.
Councilman
Yes.
Councilman Rand?
Yes.
Councilman Victor?
Yes.
Councilman Councilman Mayor?
Yes. No further business. There's a motion to adjourn?
Through the chair,
Yes.
if I may, we do have some additional miscellaneous business. There's, we have the mayor's response to the resolution passed by the council, 2013-47, urging the mayor to establish a sidewalk program. And that has been received. Would the chair like me to read that into the record?
Yes, please.
The letter is dated December 20th, 2013. In accordance with my obligations under City Code 2.04, .020, I am providing my opinion on the City Council's resolution entitled Urging the Mayor to Establish a Cost-Sharing Sidewalk Program. First, I want to say that this administration has undertaken, where possible, the repairs and upgrades of sidewalks that were deemed hazardous due to the roots of city-owned trees breaking and/or shifting cement panels and causing them to buckle, which may bring about unsafe conditions. With that said, according to City Code 12.08.050, the repair of sidewalks is the responsibility of the city, and the cost of those repairs is the responsibility of the abutting property owner. We have undertaken the above-mentioned repairs at no cost to the abutting property owners throughout the city, while not having a cost-share program in effect to ease the burden of the taxpayer. I feel that putting an additional burden on our taxpayers and implementing a cost-share sidewalk program may not be a prudent solution at this time. While the spirit of this resolution has good merit, and with the maintenance and upgrading of this infrastructure a priority that needs addressing, I encourage the City Council to create a subcommittee, along with members of the administration, to address this issue and help create an amicable solution that both addresses the problem of sidewalk repairs and minimizes the impact on our citizens. Signed, Alan W. Fung, Mayor. We also have listed on miscellaneous business, we are still awaiting an executed copy of the sewer connection agreement between LFG Genco and the city. And we have two ordinances that were failed in committee, which are just being reported out for informational purposes only.
Okay. The next City Council regular monthly meeting will be held on Monday, February the 24th. Is there a motion to adjourn? All in favor? We are now adjourned.